The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines. The path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to the journey within you. Oh, it's been a day of recording, and I'm just so thrilled to have who I have on today. Anna has come into my life, I want to say, gosh, how many years now? Probably 3 or 4, maybe longer. But this last year, I think I got to know Anna a little deeper, on a deeper level. And I said, okay, you're coming on my podcast because you have something that I think you need to share with others. And coming from where you came from, I think is important for young girls to understand and grasp. It's more than what people think and know about. And so I know that parts of this is going to probably be very difficult for you to share. But Anna, I appreciate your courage to come here today and share your story. So Anna, I want you to share it with us.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor. Yes, we actually connected through, I want to say Brooke Hemingway. We got on her coaching, and then we did a line. We got to meet there.
Yeah.
And then we actually got to be roomies this past couple weeks ago, actually, at a line, and got to just dive in deeper and talk about our stories.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on. My name is Anna Hershberger, and I grew up in an Amish community. I was born and raised Amish. Most of my family is still Amish. But I left when I was 18 years old, almost 18 years old. So that's been quite a few years ago. But I grew up, I was one of 13 kids, and I was the oldest girl. And so, and the reason that's important is because the oldest girl in an Amish family is often works alongside the mom, raising kids and doing household stuff. And so literally since I can remember, I have been working. Like I don't remember a time where I didn't work. But it, like, hindsight, it has been such a blessing because it has taught me so much about different aspects of work and just time management. And I love taking care of people. That's my passion. And I grew up doing that. And so it's just something that I love to do. I'm a nurse now. So it's kind of come full circle.
Yeah.
So I want to dive in just a little bit deeper on how I came to leave the Amish, and kind of where God has brought me, because he has had me on a journey.
Yes.
So growing up, I was the oldest girl, like I said. At 7 years old, I had a sister that was born handicapped. She took a lot of care. Oh my goodness, she was so precious. But she took a lot of care, and I was still young enough to where I could not take over the family and take care of the family and everything that needed to be done, but I could take care of her. And so I helped quite a bit with that. And she became my little girl. I mean, I didn't have real babies to play with. I had, or fake babies to play with. I had a real baby.
Yeah.
And so, with that, she was handicapped. She had a lot of health challenges. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
It's
Let me
okay.
collect myself a little bit. So at 18 months old, she passed. And that was extremely hard, especially not knowing that kids could die at that age.
Yeah.
But she was such a blessing and such a huge impact to our family, to everyone around her, really. And I think that's where my love of nursing came in, just seeing how the doctors and nurses work with her. She was in the hospital quite a
Mm,
bit,
mm,
especially up until like 6 months before she passed. She had a special diagnosis of cystic. She didn't have the gene for cystic fibrosis, but
right.
she had all
All the
the symptoms.
symptoms.
Hmm.
Wow. What was her name?
All Ruthie.
Ruthie. A
And
beautiful name.
so, yeah, she was precious. So she had all the symptoms of cystic fibrosis. She also had arthrogryposis and club feet. So she had 5 major
Mm,
surgeries in her 18 months.
mm,
But the last 6 months, she had really, really been doing well. Um, not in the hospital at all. We had made a move.
mm.
So I grew up in Holmes County, Ohio,
Uh-huh.
in big Amish country.
Yeah.
And most of my extended family is still there. And then when I was 8 years old, we moved to Gallipolis. And
Mm-hmm.
I think just the move, the climate change a
Change.
little bit,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was really, really good for her. Um, and so as far as a single checkup and just taking her into the local hospital, letting them get acquainted with her, um, that was it. Like
Mm.
she was doing so well. She was growing. Of course she was a little bit smaller for her age,
Right, right,
but so when she passed in her sleep, it was very unexpected,
right.
very heartbreaking.
Yes.
Um and I think that's where my depression really started.
Mm. She was
So
so
I
much
dealt
a
with
part
that.
of your life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like I didn't know where to go from there.
Right, right.
And if you've lost a loved one, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but so we didn't really talk about her passing. We didn't
Mm.
really talk about why. Um, I think I blamed myself a lot for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that did not help the depression that
Right,
came with it.
right.
Um, and there's a lot of other things that happened in life that added to that.
Mm.
And, but now looking hindsight, sometimes we don't understand um, the reason God lets us walk through certain
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
But it is for his good and it is for his glory. And I
Mm-hmm.
would not, I would have never, ever, ever had the strength to leave my family, to leave my home, to leave my community, everything that I grew up knowing, if it wasn't for the things that
Mm-hmm.
God had me walk through.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to just trust him and go with it because
Mm-hmm.
he sees so much. The picture that he sees is so much bigger than what we
Bigger.
could
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
And so the older I got, the more my depression grew, and I
Mm.
did not. I hid it very well from my family. I think, and even my friends.
You just went through
I
the
don't think that
motions.
I did. And I was always a person that had a smile on my face,
Mm-hmm.
make sure everybody else was happy, everybody was taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody would have ever thought or recognized how deep my depression was.
Mm.
Um, this is the part that
It's
I don't
really.
share very often.
Mm. Just take a deep breath and hold on.
But throughout the years, even after she passed, I kept asking God, why did you not take me with her?
Mm.
I couldn't believe he would take her and not take me.
Take you.
And I was so young. I was like, who's taking care of her? Like, I have to go. I have to take care of her.
Right, right.
Not
Because you still didn't
understanding.
understand that whole compass of everything. No.
No. And I really didn't have a personal relationship with God at that point.
Mm.
And so I really, really struggled with that. And so when I was 16, pretty much all my friends moved away
Mm.
and they started a new community. And
Mm-hmm.
so not only was I having some issues in the church with being singled out as the wild child, which I was
Mm-hmm.
not. Oh my goodness. I was just being a teenager. I had a
Right.
lot of brothers. They had a lot of friends. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we would have occasional alcohol and listen
Mm-hmm.
to music, which was so
Mm-hmm.
forbidden
No,
in the Amish
not do. Yeah.
community. But I had my little radios that I hit, and it was really kind of music is kind of what brought me through. It kind of helped me cope with things
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. I would sneak out my little radio and listen to music and fall asleep with it. And it helped me cope a lot. But when
Mm.
my friends moved out of the community about the same time I started, or I was old enough to date.
Yeah.
And so it just added to my depression,
Mm.
and I got very suicidal.
Mm.
And, at first it was just a thought, and then it
Yeah.
was
How am I going to do this?
not only that, but you devised a plan, and I
Yeah.
felt relief in that.
Mm.
Um, and you just keep thinking like your family would be so much better without you.
Mm-hmm.
Now looking back, like I know that's not true.
Right.
Like
Right.
I know how devastated they would have been.
Right.
And so, but I had devised a plan. I was going through with it because I did not feel like I had any other option in
Right.
my life at that point. And so I vividly remember this Wednesday evening, and I was fixing dinner, which I fix dinner a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We had a very big family. We ate
Yes.
3 full meals a day,
Oh
three,
gosh.
4 course meals a day. And I did a lot of the cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fixing dinner, and I had already had my plan in place. I knew exactly what I was going to do, when I was going to do it. And as I was fixing dinner, like something just stopped me in my tracks and
Mm.
was like, you can't do this. And it was so vivid.
Mm-hmm.
It was like literally I had Satan on this shoulder, God on this one, just in my ear. And it felt
Mm-hmm.
like hours of
Mm.
confrontation.
Mm.
But I know it was only minutes
Yeah.
at the most.
Yeah.
But it was like Satan was trying to convince me to go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
And God was trying to convince me to not.
Right.
And I remember very vividly him saying, like, you can't do this. And it was like, yes, you can, because your family will be better without you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and God kept saying, you can't do this.
Mm.
And he said, just leave. And I thought, why would God tell me to leave? We
Mm.
have been taught our whole lives
Mm-hmm.
in the Amish community. And I know most Amish communities, we grow up and we are taught that if you leave the Amish, since you were born and raised in the Amish community,
Mm-hmm.
that is what God has designed for you. And if you leave, you will go straight to hell.
Mm.
There is
Mm.
no chance of salvation. There is no grace. There's no
Mm.
forgiveness. No nothing. So I was like, why would God tell me
Why
to
would he do
leave?
that? Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
would he tell me to leave? I've
He
been
doesn't
told
want
my
me to go to
whole
hell, does
life.
he? Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I've been taught my whole life
Mm-hmm.
that if you leave, you go to hell. And here
Yeah.
God's telling me to leave. But there was so much peace in that. And I remember like just like knowing, fully knowing that it was God telling me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I battled with that. And it couldn't have been more than minutes. And I walked down to the basement. We kind of had like this outer building where we
Mm-hmm.
had our canned goods and stuff. And I went down to pick up things for dinner. And I remember as I hit that third step going down, like I finally just gave up and I said, okay, fine, God, like I'll just leave.
Mm-hmm.
And almost immediately I was like, but how?
Yeah. How?
How am I
Yeah.
gonna
How do I
leave?
get out of here?
Like,
Yeah.
what is he talking about? Like, I
Yeah.
can't leave. Like, what will people think of me?
Mm.
And at the same point, like, it was so vivid. It was so
Mm-hmm.
strong, and there was so much peace in it. Like, I knew I was gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back, got my stuff, came back up, fixed dinner. And this whole time, like, just thinking, I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
Mm-mm.
Um, I had no money at that point.
Mm.
I mean, I had worked for friends, I had worked for family, I had worked in the community,
Mm-hmm.
but my money until I was 21 years old went to my parents.
Ah.
And so I had no money.
Mm.
And, but I knew God was calling me to do this. So I finished fixing dinner and we weren't even off the table yet. And my neighbor pulls in. Now, I had known my neighbors for probably 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
For the last 3, I had worked for them quite a bit as they had 3 little kids. So I babysat quite a bit for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't even off the table yet. And she pulls in and she was like, I just wanted to see if I could have Anna to babysit tonight while I run to the store and get groceries. And I didn't think anything of it.
No, that's a
At
norm.
first, yeah, at first my mom was like, no, like we have too much stuff to do. We're kind of behind in our day. But she was just like insistent. She was like, I just need to run to the store and grab some milk. Like, I will be right back. It'll be 30 minutes. So my mom was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, go ahead. And we'll just finish, doing what
Mm-hmm.
we had to do when I got back. And so I get in the car with her and we had this massive circle drive. Beautiful, beautiful farm. But
Oh, I
anyway,
bet. Yeah.
we were going out the circle drive and she looks at me. Now, mind you, I had never mentioned
No.
anything to anyone. And she looks at me and she says, me and my husband were talking last night. And if you ever need to leave,
Mm.
you have a place with us.
Mm.
And I just couldn't believe
You're
God
like,
had set this up.
mm-hmm.
Like, and before he even called me to leave,
They had already been talking
he
about it.
had set everything in motion.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
had a place for me. He had provided everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh, I get so emotional when I think about the goodness of
Yes.
God.
Yes. Yes. And that's a good thing because it's
It
tender still.
is.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just like his sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was on a Wednesday night, and I said, pick me up on Saturday night.
Oh, wow.
Saturday morning, and I had kind of packed up my stuff in secret,
Yeah.
of course, because
Mm-hmm.
I dared not say anything to my family,
Oh, no.
because I knew
Mm-hmm.
that they wouldn't let me leave.
Right.
And so it was very important that I kept this hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
And Saturday mornings, we went up to visit grandparents in the Amish country. And so that was like a 4-hour drive.
Oh,
We had a full day, came home that night, and my dad had given us, like some of us older ones, he'd given us money
yeah.
that morning to get our breakfast or to get a snack at the
Oh,
gas
yeah.
station
Yeah. Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So he handed me a $5 bill. And I was so afraid if I didn't spend any of it, that
You
he would
think
ask to have
something?
it back.
Yeah.
Or he would
Yeah.
think something's
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
right?
Why aren't
And
you
so,
spending this money?
yes, but I was like, oh, I have a little bit of money to leave on,
$5.
right? That
Yeah.
was back in 2003. $5 didn't go far and definitely wouldn't today.
No.
But And so I remember going to the gas station and getting me a drink, and my brother paid for my breakfast.
Oh,
And so I had 3 $1 bills when I left. So it's just crazy to think of like where
mm-hmm.
God has brought me
Mm-hmm.
from. So after I left, like I went, I had to go get my GED. I Because we didn't have a lot of education in the Amish schools, we only went up to 8th grade,
Mm,
which meant I was out of school by the time I was 13,
right.
which was great for me because I didn't care to go to school.
Exactly.
And now I've spent most of my life in school, which is crazy.
Right. Right.
Um, but
The
yeah,
family
so
that you went to, were they in the Amish community or no?
no, they were not.
Okay.
No, they
Okay.
had, my parents knew them very well, and they
Okay.
suspected right away that that's where I went to, and came and checked and, everything. But, um, and then I ended up not seeing them. I think the first time that I went home, this was in August when I left. The first time that I went home was in November for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it had been a while, and that was really hard. And
I
that's
bet
the
that
thing,
was.
like, even when even when you follow God's calling in your life and doing what he says to do, it doesn't mean that it's going to be
Not gonna
easy,
be easy.
because man,
Mm,
the challenges that I faced as soon as I left,
yeah.
not just that, but dealing with the change of,
Yeah.
um not having I was so close to my siblings,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
family, my community, everything was so different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
So
God
then
has been good all these years.
you got your GED.
I got my GED. I had to go, I think I went like a year to classes because I
Yeah.
had no science,
Clue.
no social studies, no geography, no history,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like that in school. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really had to learn a lot, algebra, geometry,
Wow.
science, like all the things. So I had to learn a lot before I could pass my GED.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a couple of semesters at the community college, did LPN school, got my LPN, and then went on and did RN and then BSN.
By
And
this time,
now
are
I've
you
been in
still
the,
living with the family or have you moved out on your own?
oh no, 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 no. 2 weeks after I moved in with that family, um, that was really hard. 2 weeks after I moved in with that family,
Yeah.
she ended up accusing me of having an affair with her husband,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was gut wrenching because where I grew up, like, you just didn't do that. And I
Right.
would have never. And so
No.
she took me and dropped me off at the local Serenity House for beaten and battered women.
Mm.
And again, I was alone, had no one, knew no one, and had no money.
And at that moment, you could have made a decision to go back to the Amish community,
True.
afraid, scared, but you still stood strong even in your weakest moment.
That, not only that, but I really felt like if I went back, I would end up still committing suicide.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
at that point, I had gotten no healing. I had no
No.
therapy. I had no counseling. I
Mm.
was not in church.
Right.
I did not know Christ
Yeah.
as my personal savior. I didn't
Right.
have a relationship with him. And so, yeah, that wasn't even a question.
Mm.
Like, I don't think I ever thought about that. I did not. My cousin had left the Amish a couple years before, but she was a couple hours out. I did not know her phone number.
Oh,
I did
wow.
not know anybody
How to
else
get in
that had
touch with
left
her.
the Amish
Yeah.
that I could like meet up with or go live with them. Um, and I had a lady that needed help babysitting her kids at night because she worked at night,
Mm-hmm.
and she ended up coming and picking me up.
Mm.
And then I ended up living with her for probably a little over a year,
Mm-hmm.
um, and kind of got my feet underneath me. I would babysit her kids at night, work during the day. Um, And then I had to get my social security card. I had to get my driver's
All
license. I had
those
to
things you
buy
didn't know
my
nothing about.
car.
Yeah,
I had my car paid off before I ever got my driver's
that's
license.
so neat.
Um, and just like pay for driving school and pay for
Mm-hmm.
somebody to take me to driving
Mm-hmm.
school. And so yeah, there were a lot of firsts, a lot of challenges, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of just figuring it out as I went. Um, but it's taught me a lot. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
taught me
It's
so
built
much.
you. It's built you who you are
Yes,
today. I mean, a
it
strong
truly,
young lady. Mm-hmm.
it truly has. And now since like I've done a lot of therapy, I've done a lot
Mm-hmm.
of coaching, I've put myself in position where I can learn from
Mm-hmm.
really, really good leaders.
Yes.
And I do a lot of gratitude journaling because that was one of the first things that I did that really, really got me out of the negative mindset
Oh, good.
was doing gratitude journaling and just
Mm-hmm.
focusing on what I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more you focus on what you're grateful for, um, the less you realize what
What
is
you
not
don't
working
have and
perfectly
what's
in your life.
exactly. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that 100%. Yes. You
Yes.
have to.
And so that was really big. And I got into church, which when I left the Amish, I never thought, because I had got picked on so heavily in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want anything to do with church, to be
Right.
honest,
Right. You had a very
because
negative.
church was something where you just went and you got judged.
Mm,
And it wasn't about
the
having a
love of
personal relationship
Jesus. Yeah.
with God. And so when I started going to church. It was a Baptist church. And first of all, I thought I was at a rock concert
Yeah.
compared to being in the
I
Amish
bet.
church.
Oh, I
It
bet
was
so.
like you had the full
Whoa.
band, the music. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Going from very solemn church, very
Mm-hmm.
quiet, very like
You
you
don't
don't
speak
talk,
in
you don't
church.
move,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
fidget in your seat, nothing, to like literally jumping up and down and dancing and
Oh,
yeah,
freedom. Freedom.
that's total freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I had went through a lot of therapy at that point and ended up getting saved and
Mm.
baptized.
Oh.
Um, and it was just like it's changed my life so
Mm-hmm.
dramatically. And it doesn't mean and it's definitely not been like I got saved and baptized and everything. It's
I think
been
it's Rosie. No.
raises and sunshine.
Yeah.
It's definitely a working
Yeah.
process and it still is. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so much hope.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't ever want anybody to feel like suicide is their answer
Right.
because
Right.
I've lived so much beautiful life since then.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could not imagine. I
Mm-hmm.
could not imagine not having
What you've
lived
gone through.
it.
Mm-hmm.
hmm And so I did. I started with gratitude journaling, just spending time with God, just really getting
Mm.
in His Word and reading His Word. Because growing up Amish, we had German Bibles, and
Mm.
I still actually have mine. Mom gave it to me a couple years ago. Um, and we learned German in school, but I
Mm-hmm.
never learned what a lot of the words meant in German.
Right.
So I can still read German, but I don't understand
You're
what
not
it's saying.
comprehending it. Yeah.
So what's the
What's the
point in
point?
that? So
Yeah.
it's literally what the preachers and the bishop tell you on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Mm.
And so when I started reading my Bible and reading it in English and starting to understand, like I could actually form a relationship with Christ.
With Christ. Yeah.
And so between like reading, just spending quiet time with God every day is so,
Mm.
so important and has been
Mm-hmm.
so important in my journey. Gratitude journaling, moving my body,
Mm-hmm.
listening to positive podcasts.
Yes.
There's so much out there now. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much access to goodness
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know. It's just there's so much access to things that I didn't have in the
Right.
Amish community with not having
Right.
technology
And not
and
allowed. Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just want
Well,
to encourage
I
everybody that,
know the impact that the community has made on both of us that we are in. I mean, we have attached ourselves, to Brooke's things and what she does and bringing the community together. And I've got several others that I'm involved in. And I don't know where I'd be without that. First my relationship with God and then having the people around me. It's been amazing,
oh,
bringing us through what we've gone
definitely.
through since August. And so I would not want to do that alone. Do I regret all we've gone through? No, like you, I said, it's taught us, it's brought us through, and I can see the glory in how he's led us
Mhm.
and where we are today. I mean, it's just, I can smile. I don't feel, I cry about things too, because it's still tender in your heart. And that's not something that'll ever go away. You don't want that to go away. You want to be able to carry that memory of, losing your precious sister. That's something that'll always be with you. But
Oh, absolutely.
learning to heal and taking the pressure off of you that it wasn't your fault, that it wasn't something you could have changed because it wasn't in your plan, it was in God's plan, which you didn't
Mhm.
understand that as a child. How can we understand that as a child? I mean,
Right.
yeah, but it built you to who you are today, and I love that because you have, as I was talking to Kim earlier today, you could have chosen a different path. You could have chosen suicide and lost all this beautiful life that you have gotten to experience. She could have chosen a different path also and been still poor and still, kids all different ways and in trouble. But they set positive lines in their life, and God in their life first. And it changed them dramatically because he's going to bless you if we trust him and stay faithful in the walk.
So true.
And even as a child, you didn't know God, but he knew you and he wanted to make
Oh,
sure he carried you to the point to where you were ready to know him in a depth that you know him today. And that just, ooh, that gives me chills just thinking
true.
how
And
he carried you all that way.
that's what, people, I think a lot of people think that you have to have a personal relationship with God for him to talk to you. And it's so not true because I spent years being so angry at him for taking my
Mhm.
sister.
Mhm.
And then he's still telling me to leave and has setting
Mhm.
everything up. Like, and
Mhm.
had my sister not been sick, had she not been in the hospital that much, had she not passed away, had things not happened at home as they did, had my friends not moved out, had everything not happened the way that they did in
Mhm.
the timeline that they did, I would have never hit my rock bottom and left
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
become a nurse. And I truly feel like God has allowed me to walk my path in order to help people.
Mhm. And you
And
can do it in such a deeper level now.
oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
I mean, had I stayed Amish, like
You wouldn't be
your life is kind
experiencing
of
all
planned
this.
out for you. You
Yeah.
you get married and you have children very young,
Mhm.
and that's it. You
That's it.
don't have a
You
career,
take
you
care of your
don't further
house.
your
Mhm.
education, you don't, yeah. And so oh, it's been such a blessing,
Mhm.
and now looking back, like, oh my goodness, I could write books
And you probably
on
will.
what God has brought me through and all the
Uh-huh.
details because like you only heard little snippets and pieces, but oh
So
my
now where you
goodness.
are today, you do have a relationship with your family. You
Yes.
are able to go home and spend time with them and your siblings. You get to see most of them now.
Yes, I am very, very blessed because I
That's good.
know that a lot of kids that leave the Amish don't have that opportunity.
To get back with their family. Mm,
It's some churches won't allow the parents to have contact with their kids, and some kind of leave it up to the parents,
yeah.
which my church did in a sense. So up until we lost dad 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And up until then, like we had pretty much been invited to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, about a year after he passed, um, I think it was, I mean, I know it had some influence to do with the church and stuff to where they were a little bit more like, you shouldn't be letting your kids, my nieces and nephews, be in so much contact with them. They're going
Hmm.
to lead them astray. And it'll be your fault if your kids go to hell because you've
Let them be.
had them around them and being
Outsiders.
influenced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very close with some of my siblings and see them
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's others that I hardly see.
Mm.
And that's their decision.
Right. Right.
They have to raise their kids, and I
Mm-hmm.
know what we were taught,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how strong that belief is. And when you've
Mm-hmm.
never been exposed to anything else and you kind of aren't allowed to think anything else or believe anything else,
Right.
it's just easier to follow the
Right.
rules of the church.
Right.
And so we are not invited to like holidays anymore or birthday parties or anything
Mm.
like that in my family, but we do, like, we're welcome to go out during the week. Like, I was at my sister's yesterday and then stopped in at mom's, and we sat there and did a puzzle till almost midnight last
Aw.
night and just talked and laughed
Mm-hmm.
and had really good conversation. And
Good.
um I was never close with my mom growing up.
Mm. Mm.
We actually fought quite a bit.
Yeah.
but but now, like, we just have such a good
Oh,
relationship.
that's good. That's
And
good.
so yeah, it's been incredible.
Well, Anna, I appreciate you taking the time to be brave and share your story. Like I said, I know there are people in that situation now that are like
Hmm.
struggling, even contemplating suicide because they know this isn't the life that they want to live. And then figuring out how to get out of it, and not be, I mean, they love their family. I can't imagine how hard that is because you love your family. You don't, you're mad and angry about what you're living and how you're living, but you still love your family. You don't want to leave them, but yet you do. So I pray
You
for
don't
those
want to
people.
leave them, but you don't feel like there's any other way out.
Right, right. And then they need to be okay with that it's okay to leave and establish your life and be who
Mhm.
you're meant to be in God's sight. And so I pray for
Absolutely.
those people that are struggling through that right now. But I like to end asking a question. And this year I'm asking, what is something that you love to collect?
Oh gosh. You mean besides cups and throws?
Oh, Lord, girl, we've got so many cups.
I have so many cups and throws, and it's something I
Yes,
get for Christmas a lot and
yes.
for gifts, and I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What is something
one
most
thing that
special to you that you like to collect? Yeah.
my Christmas ornaments. So
Oh,
I started this years ago because I've been in the medical field, LPN, RN, BSN, for the past 15 years now. And so in the last couple years, I've been traveling.
mm-hmm.
I love to travel. And so everywhere I go, I get a Christmas ornament from that place.
Oh, yeah.
And then at Christmas time, I get to put all my memories on the tree, and it just brings back so many
Mm-hmm.
memories. And a lot of my friends have given me ornaments, and
Oh,
friends that I've passed on now, I have ornaments that they've given me. And so it's
mm,
just a so special time, like remembering all the memories and
mm-hmm.
remembering the loved ones in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's probably the most precious thing that I collect.
That's great. I love that. I do angels. I love angels. I love
Ooh,
my mother loved them, and I think that she used to make them in her jewelry. And so that just kind of carried through. I've been getting like special little gifts, and they were angels. I was like, oh, that's a mom wink. That's what I call it instead of a God
mhm.
wink. It's my mom. And so I just kind of resonate with angels. I've had several different collections over the years, but right now that's where I'm at with angels. I just love them and what they
I love
represent, and that
that.
you. But I just want to say thank you for being on my podcast today. I love
Mm,
you, girl.
thank you for having me. I love you.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.